subscribe. Moro moro, and welcome back to Culinary Roleplaying. I think if one thing majority of tabletop role players can agree upon is the shared passion of creating more tabletop role players. Whenever there is a person who shows interest to our little hobby, our little passion of tabletop role playing, we want to share our hobby with new people, other people who are excited about our way of life. At least I am, and most of the people that I have played with really enjoy to introduce new people into tabletop role playing. But what I have found very difficult is to demonstrate and explain what tabletop role playing games are. There are countless videos explaining what tabletop role-playing games are, and there are different ways of telling it. Like, it's a shared storytelling game. It is it's a board game combined with improvisation. There are many explanations how tabletop role-playing games work, but still I would say the best way is to actually show how tabletop role-playing games work and actually play one session of tabletop role-playing game. I think that is the best way of demonstration, always. But the thing is that many tabletop role-playing games require quite a lot of preparation and rules to start with. And there are times when you try to just plan the session zero to introduce new people into tabletop role-playing games. It requires so much commitment for new people that most of the time the whole thing can just fizzle out before it even begins. But there are ways and there are games that you can just start playing right on the spot. When you have a moment with people who are interested in tabletop role-playing games, you can just pick up your game and just say, how about we play right now to demonstrate? Let's take 45 minutes and let's just start playing. And this video is a list of different tabletop role-playing games that are easy to start, that are easy to custom into different kinds of situations. On base level, you don't need character sheet at all with these games. And there is like one dice or a deck of cards or something like that. Something that is really easy to whip up on the spot and just start playing right away. The first game I want to talk about is Grin. Grin is this kind of survival horror game that is really simple at its core. The best comparison to Grin would probably be Dread. On a base level, Grin is basically this survival horror game where you only play with one deck of cards, and the players play a bunch of survivors in any kind of survivor setting you can establish. It can be an alien planet, it can be a murder mystery, it can be some classic horror house. Anything goes. And the game's really simple. You start by having a certain amount of cards in the deck, and whenever somebody pulls a joker, their character is dead and is removed from the game. So this has been played in a convention play sense that people can just like pop in and pop out of the game. So whenever they can sit down and play the game until they die and they can just move on. But there are also extra rules where these people that die become like these ghosts that can have these powers to make pulling the card more difficult or more easier to other players. So they can become these tormenting spirits in a sense. But yeah, very simple game. If you pull a joker, you die. If you pull a picture card, you have to pull another card. So there's a bigger risk that you will get something bad out of it. And then if you pull an ace, that means you can keep the ace to yourself. And in situations where you would have to pull a card, you can use the ace to not pull the card, or you can put it on other player that they have to pick one extra card. And that's it. That's the base level. Nobody has any character sheets, nobody has any extra abilities, but this is a really great base game. And you can modify it to fit a certain type of narrative that you want to tell in the table with your people. and you can like have different kinds of scenarios with a little bit more intricate rules, and it's so easy to teach. Like, you can just start telling the story and who people are, and you can just say pull a card. If you pull a joker, you die. That's that, and you can just tell the rules as you go. So really easily you can just start the game on a spot and start improvising a story and play through a game and demonstrate to people how tabletop role-playing games work. Now, if you want to give people more tabletop role-playing game type of feel, and you want to add some basic character creation into this rule system, then I would add advantages and disadvantages for characters. So everyone can build a character that has one advantage and one disadvantage. So it's really easy to remember. Card pulling would work basically the same way, but when you have advantage, then it would be like the regular way that only the joker will make you lose. If you have regular roll, that means if you pull out a joker or a picture card, then you would lose. And then if you have disadvantage, if you pull any picture card, joker, or any clubs, you would lose. And with this advantages, disadvantages rule system, you don't have to die outright. You could add additional disadvantage to your character. So first time you would take another disadvantage, which would be maybe like a wound or your shoulder, or amnesia or something like that, that could give you another disadvantage. And if you ever would get a third disadvantage, your character would then perish. And also during the adventure, your character would get maybe more advantages, maybe some very good items or some inside knowledge. So you could have this kind of very basic character with one advantage and one disadvantage to start with, and then they would gain additional disadvantages or advantages during this one short session. Very simple characters still to keep inside your head, that you don't need any character sheet. And then you have some basic character variation with the pulling of the cards, like if you have disadvantages, your character is not that good. So you get the base idea of me playing my characters that have different varied chances of success that we are very accustomed with most of the tabletop role-playing games. So you can, with more detail and with these simple modifications, use the grin as a base rule to create this kind of tabletop role-playing game experience on the spot. But that's only my modification ideas. On a base level, Grin, really good game on its own. It's a free game as well. I will leave a link down below. Check it out. And like I said, you only need a deck of cards. So this is really easy to keep with you anyway, wherever you go, and you can just pull the deck of cards and be like, hey, let's play some tabletop role-playing games. And also you need only one card, and when the joker is pulled, then you reshuffle the deck. So really easy. So you don't need like many dice, only one deck of cards is enough for whole group. Then there are many very good D6 tabletop role-playing game systems that don't need a lot of character creation at all. I could name so many, but I will only name few because I still want to keep this video quite tight. One great example of D6 tabletop role-playing game that you only need to take like maybe maximum of 3 D6 with you, and you can play with a group easily. Tricube Tales, in the name. Tricube Tales can have a little bit more crunch in it, but on a base level you have 3 hit points and you have 3 karma points, so they are very easy to remember, even if you don't have a character sheet. And the other thing, character class basically consists of like it was called professional career, I don't remember exactly, and then you have aspect, so you could be like an quick gunslinger or a strong warrior or something like that. So you have 2 aspects that are basically like your character sheet that tells you what your character is good at. So when you have things that apply, for example, if you're a strong warrior and you are doing things that apply either one or both of these things, you will get additional dice. So that's why you just need to remember that I'm a strong warrior, and that is your character sheet, and that will tell you how many dice you can roll in different situations. So if you need to like push rock to the side, you could at least you could argue that this is a thing that strong aspect will help. Then you can just add another die and just roll. The GM gives you difficulty, and then you will roll the dice. Very simple. Then you have 3 hits, easy to remember. When you take a hit, you will lose one of those. And it's, yeah, really easy to keep tabs on, or you can just give people like bottle caps, anything that can count as those hits. Really easy, really simple to take with you. So you can just whip out your dice in a bar and just start playing. The rulebook itself contains a little bit more rules, because then character can gain like additional talents, and they can use those karma points to do some other things than to effect on their dice rolls. But on a base level, like, you can only use the 3 hits and the class and your aspect, and basically play a demonstration game easily. So yeah, Tricube Tales, really easy to play without character sheets, and you only need the D6. Other one, I would have to argue that Freeform Universal is a really good game as well. Again, you can determine 2 to 3 aspects of your character. For example, you can determine what kind of mind, what kind of body, and what kind of spirit you have, for example. And you can then rule as a GM that one of these have to be kind of like negative, one of them has to be like positive, and one of them can be neutral. So you can have great-spirited, absent-minded, average-bodied individual, and that is your character. And you easily can remember these aspects when you have created your character, so you don't need a character sheet. And then Freeform Universal, really simple. When you roll a 6, it's yes and when you, well, it depends which system you use, but I use for me, from the 6 to 5. So when you roll 6, it's yes and. When you roll 5, it's yes. When you roll 4, it's yes but. 3, no but. 2, no. And 1 is no and. And depending on the situation, you might get additional dice from your aspects if it's a good thing or a bad thing, and you get the results. Really easy to just create a story out of thin air, and just to demonstrate how tabletop role-playing games work to your friend group that hasn't played any tabletop role-playing games before. Really easy to just start to like come up with the story and like, okay, what kind of people are you gonna be? And maybe even scribble down like a basic character sheet if they want. But again, you don't have to. This is basically like the zeros of the zero prep, that they don't have to bring anything with them. They can just start to go into this tabletop role-playing game journey with you, with a very like low ceiling of needing to remember any mechanics or anything like that. Then I want to also mention Quest, which is a little bit more involved system, but Quest as well, you can strip the game down really easily. Because on a base level, you only need a D20. So if you want to introduce people to rolling D20 from the beginning, Quest is really simple game. And then you can give all the players maybe 1 or 2 abilities that they can use X amount of times without thinking the amount of power points or anything like that they would require to use. Just give them 1 or 2 abilities and say that, okay, you can cast this kind of spell, or you can do this kind of thing. And just say that you have 3 power points that you can use. That is enough. That is their character. And then they have the gear that they require, and then you have the basic roll table, which is, I think it was from 20 was a critical success. From 19 to 15 it was full success. From 14 to 10 it was partial success. And then it was like 9 to 6 it was partial failure, and 5 to 2 it was failure, and 1 is critical failure. I will put the page on here, but the point is really simple. And when you just have this page with you, or you memorize it as a GM, you can just start creating the narration within the game really easily. Yes, the game basically has hit points, 10 to be exact, but this can be changed into that every character has 3 hits and all the negative effects takes 1 hit away from you. Very simple. You don't have to make it more complicated. It is easier to take the quest based system, and when you have introduced this game, when you have just quickly introduced it, then you can actually then play a one shot of quests where they actually make characters, which is still really simple, and then you can jump into the next system. So this can be really easy gateway to soft introduce more thoroughly, and then offer new tabletop role-playing experiences. But yeah, overall I think Quest could be really simple game just to play with a friend group. Again, you really don't need character sheets if people have 1 or 2 abilities. They just remember, oh, I can cast fire, right? I had that thing, and they can just do it. And final bonus game that I want to introduce, which we kind of came into the conclusion that this is actually a tabletop role-playing game, funnily enough. This game actually originated from, or I learned it from my friends Arttu Porkka and Aapeli Hakala. Shout out to these 2 wonderful people. But basically, if you have a group that are not very keen on like jumping right into this kind of fantasy or fiction or this kind of world, and they need maybe a little bit more soft introduction into tabletop role playing, or you are in an environment that not all people want to play dwarves and elves. Go figure, there are places that you don't want to play dwarves and elves in. I don't know what those places are, because I would play elf anywhere or dwarf. But the point is, not all people are comfortable with that, and that's completely fine. If you want to have this kind of more softer experience that still has randomization, that still has basically character creation, and still has you needing to make choices as an individual for this narration story or in this role play, there is a game that is this kind of social game. I don't know the actual game. My friends call it like the red flags game, but I modded it a little bit, and I will call it the happy ending game. And the basic premise is this: you will play individuals as a group, and your idea is to find a partner that you want to live the rest of your life with. During the game, you will build your partner by giving them different aspects. So at the start of the game, all the players will write 15 aspects, 5 red flags. So 5 things that you want to say absolutely no, that your partner cannot have. You then build 5 gray flags that are aspects that might be neutral. So they might be negative to someone, they might be positive to someone, or there might be no any specific thing at all. And then you will also write 3 green flags. These are admirable aspects that your partner would or should have. And all the players do this. Then you will pile all these aspects into one big pile, and you will shuffle them around. Each round, all the players will pick one aspect for their people that they are dating at the moment. And then you will openly say what you got, and then you will have a conversation about will you continue dating with this partner. And your goal is that you will get into position where you have discovered 10 aspects of your character, and then you will finally decide if you want to live happily ever after. You can discard your partner and start over from any point. If there is like some aspect is revealed that you feel like, no, this is not gonna work, you can then discard. Then there is another aspect, a life aspect. You can also get married, and when you get married, you will draw 2 aspects each round, because you are more involved with your partner and you will discover new things of them more frequently. But if you decide to break up with the person that you are married, you have to go 1 round without picking anything, because it takes time to take a divorce rather than just break up as a partners. Not that realistic. It's not that simple in real life, but just to make it a little bit varied in mechanics. So this is very casual, like a social game that you can play with your friend groups. Very low ceiling of entry, and it can be more casual conversation about very relatable things. So it doesn't have to go into the fantasy world aspect, but I would still argue there are all the aspects that are involved in tabletop roleplay games. You are building your character's backstory and building the narrative, because you are explaining your decisions and actions, why you are still keeping this partner or why you are discarding this partner. There are mechanics that keep on building the different story aspects or character partner aspects in this case. Then there is also the randomization, which is very, for me, the randomization is big aspect for tabletop role-playing games, because we cannot predetermine and see how the game is gonna go. Like in this game, there is the randomization. You don't know what aspects do you get. So it has all the basic aspects of tabletop role-playing games, while still being this very kind of low ceiling social game where you can really be in and out of the game quite easily. So it doesn't require you to really hone in into the idea of being this character. It can be really funny also, and this can be taken into deeper level where you can play it as pairs. Like when pair picks one card, the other one can be the left side and other one can be the right side of the brain. So one of them can be the logic and always try to be like, and try to find the very realistic things about different aspects, and the other one can be the emotional side and feel like, oh, this is so cool and stuff. So you can have those partners. Another one can be like the very pessimistic, like always trying to see the wrong and the negative aspects of the other one, and the other one, it can be the positive side of the brain and always trying to force all the positive things, even with the red flags, like, oh, they are just misunderstood, or they are just hanging with the wrong groups, we can still fix this, and you know, that we tend to do. And this can be also interesting dialogue between the two sides of the brain who are having this internal conflict, which is also, this interaction is also a very important part of tabletop role-playing games. And this will come up anyway when you are talking that, should I keep this partner or should I just go to the next one? So you have all the tabletop role-playing aspects. These are the games that I always have in mind when I'm going into different meetings and meeting new people. I always have a deck of cards with me. I always have a few dice with me, because there is always the chance that people are like, oh, what are tabletop role-playing games? And I'm like, well, let me tell you. I would love to hear comments down below. What are your tricks and what are your ways to teach new people, or maybe not teach? How do you introduce new people into tabletop role-playing games? How do you do it? Do you have a specific game you run them? Do you decide a time when you want to try them? What do you tell the new people? I want to hear everything. Comments down below. New videos coming out really soon. I had a little bit audio difficulties with my last video, so that's why it has been so long since I have had my last video. But rest assured, I'm still here, I'm kicking, I'm making more videos, and hopefully I see you there. And I still want to thank my beautiful, beautiful culinary role-playing guild members who keep on supporting me, even though there has been a little bit break. Thank you so much. I haven't forgotten you. I'm just so thankful for my guild members who are nothing but supportive. My guild members are the greatest, most supportive people ever. And more guild members we have, the more emphasis I can put into these videos in my everyday life. So I hope I see you real soon. And now it's moro moro.